Abdul-Baha blessed the continent of North America with his presence during his historic travels to the West from 1911 to 1913. During this journey, he visited Canada for a total of 11 days.
Eight to 10 years ago, we were a community that maybe wasn't experiencing a lot of growth. We were comfortable with where we were. It was nice spending all that, all that time and fellowship together. But there wasn't really a sense of progress or movement, or that we were contributing to something greater than ourselves. So 6 years ago, we held a meeting, a gathering, to really talk about this question of how do we grow. And we recognized that one of the things that we had to address or grapple with was the fact that we had gone through the sequence of courses as though it was a deepening tool, but it wasn't to help us build capacity. We became aware that we actually don't know how to do anything. Like, we don't know how to share a prayer with somebody, we don't know how to go out and home visit, we don't know how to invite someone to a children's class, like we just don't know.
In the early days, very, very few of us had any experience. I remember in those days we would go into a bookstore and hang out in the religion section and talk to anybody who wandered by there. Or we would sit in a coffee shop with a Baha'i book in our hands, hoping somebody would ask us what to talk about.
So we actually had to just start from the beginning and commit to actually going through the practices of the sequence. One of the very first things we did, as simple as it sounds, is that we committed to sharing 5 prayers with people that we knew within a span of 2 weeks. And this caused a lot of anxiety. There was emails going back and forth. I tried it this way, it didn't work. I tried to bring it up, I messed up on the prayer. It was hilarious, but it was really quite interesting that something so small, seemingly small, to share a prayer with someone was actually such a big step forward. We were gaining experience with the junior youth program within our own Baha'i communities, but we began to realize that we really needed to reach out, because there were people that were interested in the program, who needed the program, and who were willing to help and contribute towards it. What we came up with was a 2-week training in the study of Book 5 that had embedded within it an action component, and it was intended for actually youth across the country, because we didn't have enough resources within our own cluster. So these youth spent 2 weeks together, immersed themselves in prayer, in the study of the writings, in the study of Book 5. And in the evenings, they would go out into neighborhoods that were already selected and identified, and would have conversations with parents and junior youth, and within that week start a junior youth group.
When we first began taking these first steps out into these neighborhoods, no one felt that they knew the conversation at all. So we had to figure out, what words do you say to invite a junior youth into the program? What words do you use to help a parent understand what this program is about? And I remember the very first day that we were preparing to go out, it was pouring rain, and half of us were hoping that it was raining too hard to go out and we wouldn't be able to. And they would say it was canceled, but it wasn't. I remember sitting in a little room and with the 6 people that were in my team, and just role-playing every possible question that somebody could ask us. And no one ever asked us any of those questions, but we felt like we had to be prepared. And then we went out, and to our great surprise, we spoke to parents and they gave permission. We invited junior youth and they came.
Going into these regional trainings, I didn't think a single one of the things we accomplished were possible. We went into neighborhoods, and after 2 days, we had children's classes and junior youth groups of 30 people.
So the training resulted not only in 50 new animators with experience, but the cluster was gifted with these 4 to 5 neighborhoods that had some 300 children and junior youth in groups and classes.
3 years ago, I was outside playing with my friends. An animator was playing too, and while we were hiding from the person who was it, she introduced me to junior youth group, So I asked my parents. They said they agreed that it was a great idea. I joined, and here I am.
My first animator, she came to my door and my dad answered the door and she was telling him about the program, and my dad told me, Esther, you might as well join since you're not involved with the community. So I was like, okay, I will. So I went to it, and ever since then I never looked back.
Our junior youth group brought a lot of people together that didn't know each other from before.
I met lots of people who I didn't even know, and they lived right in my building or right in my school, and I didn't even notice them.
It's a great place to make new friends.
I made friends with him and his brother. I started coming over to his house.
Yeah, we like it because we get to do different activities and we get to interact with other people in our community.
So, can someone read for me what this book says? Tuva. Breezes of Confirmation, right. And what this book is it's a story about a junior youth much like you guys. So it's a 13-year-old girl named Musanda. And we're gonna read about some experiences that she's had. It'll help us ask some of these questions that I think we're all facing. Questions about what we wanna do with our life, how can we best be of service to humankind?
This junior youth program affected my life, drastically. Every time I'm around somebody new, I try and think of what I learned and how it would affect other people, and I try and spread the knowledge.
I've learned that my actions have a lot of effect on people, and it taught me to reflect on my day and show what's good and bad and how I could change for next day.
It showed me that we need spiritual excellence because without it, it will be really hard to succeed in life. And spiritual excellence is when you use your knowledge and you use your heart and compassion and blend those two together and help someone.
I used to get teased and bullied around the neighborhood. But then my animators, they helped me a lot to get through stuff, and if I have a problem, I would talk to them about it. Now, nothing really happens, and when I graduate junior youth, I will become an animator and just give back what I got.
Sometimes that's hard to explain how we're feeling, right? Or even what we're thinking. So one of the things that we're trying to do in this group is to develop our capacity to be able to find those words.
There's some moments where you want to say something, but you really can't express it. So this group really helps you because it tells you how you can express your feelings.
We want to think of something that we can do together for our community. Does anyone have any ideas about what we could do?
We can provide service to our community. Service is very important because it helps others, and at the same time it builds your character.
The junior youth group that I'm animating in, we've just did a service project. They wanted to show the community what healthy eating was and what's diabetes and how they can prevent it.
These ones on the bottom is what you should do every day. Here's what you should do 3 to 5 times a week.
Lots of people don't eat healthy now.
And a lot of people have diabetes, which is a big concern. Many of our parents have diabetes. So we want to put an end to it.
We've been working with strengthening children's classes in areas with very strong junior youth groups as a strategy to strengthen both activities.
I like coming to children's class because I can make airplanes and draw. I make new friends by coming to this class. When you you're praying, God gives you blessings. When I'm sad and I pray, I get happier. I learned from Abdul Baha that you have to be kind, respect people, and help.
I see the changes in my daughter. Sometimes she comes and she teaches me you have to be more kind, more generous, and sharing. So these are very small things, but it's so important for that age, because if they don't learn it that age, at that time, it's very hard to, develop that attitude when they grow up.
The animators in our neighborhood have worked very consciously to connect the junior youth group to the children's classes in the neighborhood. So even early on in the junior youth group, they would learn songs to teach to the children and come and teach the children those songs. So over the years, the junior youth have slowly built their capacity to assist with children's classes.
During one of our junior youth group days, we happened to be teaching the children's classes songs, and we were really into it and we really enjoyed it. The children also seemed to really like us, so the children's class teacher asked us if we'd like to come help out.
Although we're focusing on junior youth, we're really finding that it's a way of engaging the whole family. If we have home visits with parents, if we try and engage the older and younger siblings, it's really a starting point through which we can actually engage a whole population and start to strengthen the core activities in a neighborhood and start building a sense of community.
Our study circle has now progressed on to book 2. We've just spent some time talking about who we can in fact home visit. And in the same building, there's currently a junior youth program and a children's class. So our book 2 is now making a list of parents of both children's class and junior youth parents that we can go and visit.
One of the reasons why we wanted to host this devotional is to uplift the spiritual character of our neighborhood. And because when there is prayer happening in a neighborhood, there are confirmations that are bound to happen.
Today, that first group of junior youth have graduated the program and are now youth and are now studying the sequence of courses. And they are carrying out acts of service commensurate to their capacity and desires. So they're serving as animators and they're also serving as children's class teachers.
I've been in this program for about 6 years now. I've done all the books and I've done a few Ruhi books, and now I'm animating my own junior youth group right now. I like working so much with junior youth because I can see myself in them, how I was when I was younger, and I knew how I grew up to be. They might even be better.
My animators that I was in with the junior youth, they came to me and asked me if I wanted to do my own program. So me and my friend from the junior youth said, okay, yeah, let's do it. So we went door to door, and then we had 2 kids for the first meeting, which I was kind of sad about. But then the next meeting, we had 12. So I was like, yes, the 2 became 12. So something must have happened to those 2 kids.
It's only right to show the compassion and the guidance that I have been shown and pass it down. By spending time with friends who drink alcohol a lot, can we protect ourselves from getting into a habit of drinking alcohol? No? Okay. Why not? Why is that the case? I really care about the youths in our community. Honestly, other things out there, such as going to the park or anything, they're not really impacting anyone but yourselves. But knowing that coming to this program, you help guide other people, that's what really matters at the end, making a difference.
And my light is in thee. Get out from it, thy radiance.
This group of graduates of the Junior Youth Program are really propelling the Institute process forward by helping form junior youth groups, children's classes, participate in study circles, and of course, naturally, the number of core activities is increasing and the number of those participating is increasing, but also with respect to the quality, because it's quite a different thing to have youth that are indigenous to the community who have known the children in their neighborhood for years and years, now to be their animator and their children's class teacher.
There's a lot of children in this community, so we are planning on creating a children's class. We used to have a children's class, but those children graduated into our present youth. So now we're gonna establish a new group.
There are these neighborhoods where people have been working for, 5 years. It hasn't come without a lot of sacrifice and dedication. For some people, it's required actually leaving their homes and moving into these neighborhoods. For others, it's students that are either in high school or university that make sure that they make that time to be with their group. Now we're beginning to see the glimmerings of what's come from this long-term commitment, but it's also required a lot of, I think, sacrifice.
My animator moved in to a nearby building just so she can help us, and I was so happy. She's like a sister to me now. I can see it in her eyes that she has the potential to make our lives change. I'm gonna graduate and be an animator myself. And then the children I teach will be animators and we'll go on.
In our cluster, there's very little that's truly flourished and strengthened that's been the work of a single person. It's always a team of people that consult together, that encourage one another, that compensate for one another.
In working in this neighborhood, we have a team that comes together every week that supports the animators. So the animators will animate the group, and then we have 3 or 4 individuals who give their time every week and come and help with home visiting parents, with picking up the junior youth before the group, and just kind of being there to support and to talk with people in the neighborhood.
When we first started the children's class, that's first summer, we had around 20 children come. But when the winter came, we had to move it inside to my home. And actually only one of the 20 children came. And despite our efforts, only one would come. And very easily we could have given up. But being part of a team in the neighborhood and having that support was really helpful in seeing the long-term vision and not to give up. Now, 4 years later, looking back, we've had around 50 children come through the program, and we have 2 strong classes, 5 of which have gone on to junior youth, which is also very exciting.
In a number of different neighborhoods. What we're trying to learn about is how to strengthen the core activities, but also how to build this pattern of community life, which includes devotional gatherings, home visits, the feast, as well as neighborhood reflection meetings, and to celebrate holy days.
The average cluster reflection meeting, maybe 40 or 50 people would come to. The first time we did neighborhood reflection meetings, 150 people came in aggregate. I mean, there were different gatherings, but suddenly you can see there's so many more people participating.
Lately, I have been attending a lot of the community gatherings, and I feel that these meetings are a great way to share ideas and also get to know what's happening around my community.
So what began as an intensive youth campaign to help move some young people through Book 5 some 6 years ago has now matured into a process in which young people are accompanying their community to actually begin to walk a path of service, to be able to prosper materially and spiritually. And although small, it's the seed of which future action can really be built upon. Because of these experiences, Toronto has been serving as a learning site, and we're accompanying junior youth coordinators from 10 other clusters to make similar advances, helping them to address the complex questions that arise out of the implementation of the program.
Society says that we're kids and we can't really do much, and we think of ourselves as heroes and role models because we can do a lot if we put our mind to it.
If you were here in this community 5 years ago, there was a lot of violence that was present in this community, but through the establishment of this program, the future generations were guided towards a more positive direction, and the service projects that they have done has impacted the community in a positive way, and presently you do not see violence in our community.
If we just do this in our group itself, it's only going to change our minds. But if once I've seen people getting inspired and all the people joining in and us working as a team, I believe that we can make this place beautiful.